Church has been twisted and turned throughout the years. We look at a building and say, that's church. We go to church to get a message, feel something, to feel good, hear good music and get moved. Compare that to the scriptural mandates. It talks about the gifts that God gave, apostles, prophets, teachers, pastors. Those were given to edify and build up the body of Christ so they could go out and do the work of the ministry. Right. It's not the pastor's job. There's no single pastor in the Bible. The message better be good because I need that message to make me feel good. I want good kids programs for my kids. It's all about me. Let's just put it this way. What we have in the churches today did not come from the Bible.
No, it didn't come from the Bible.
It came from...
I'm Chuck Tate, and here at Fellowship of Believers, we encourage families, strengthen marriages, and edify the body of Christ.
I'm Larry Grimm. We also promote biblical doctrine in a fun and engaging way.
And I'm Sarah, and if it's Christian, we're talking about it.
This is the Mike Charleston Show. All right, guys, what is going on? Thank you guys for listening on the podcast, wherever you're listening to us on, or if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate it. In case you didn't know, we do have a podcast if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on the podcast, we do have a YouTube channel. But there's about 3 seasons that we have, and we go the first 10 episodes, I think, of the very first season, which are we've gotten better. Let's just put it that way.
Much improved.
Much improved. Larry was on the phone and all that.
Phone.
We spent the first 10 episodes talking about the church. And so we're going to go back and talk about the church a little bit more today. But before we get that, notice that we're all wearing our shirts, except for Chuck. He didn't get the memo, evidently.
No.
There are Woodlawn Freedom Family Camp. That is coming up here in just a few weeks. If you are getting this, Monday, Tuesday, there is still some spaces to sign up. Go to the website, MississippiShindig.com. You can go to the Facebook page too and check it out. But yeah, it's still available, and there's still some cabins available. So check that out also. So anyway, well, let's just go ahead, Chuck, and get right into today's topic.
All right, so you got the title of the topic for today is priority of the church.
Well,
so we'll kind of...
I don't know why, Sarah, you put priority of the church. It was really the purpose of the church.
The purpose. Okay.
Right, the purpose of the church. What is the purpose of the church?
What's the purpose of the church? So, as usual, let's start off with defining what is a church.
That is very important, because if I just say, what is the purpose of church? It depends on where you are.
Right.
It depends if you're a Pentecostal, a Baptist, Presbyterian. In fact, all of those are going to agree on some level of going to a place to worship. And in fact, there are two understandings that you can have of church. So first, the Greek word here is ekklesia or ecclesia, depending on if you're from North or South America here, the northern parts. But ekklesia is the Greek word there, which is a funny word, but it's kind of the called out ones, and it is a very basic understanding. And we translated that word into church. Now, church has been twisted and turned throughout the years, and what we have today, where we look at a building and say, that's church. That's not church.
Right.
That is not the church. And yet we'll have... That's what money is, yes.
Right.
But that's not the church. The church are obviously the people. Now, we hear preachers say that all the time, right? Like, this is not the church. You guys are the church. And yet we still practice going to church.
Yeah.
And so we have to define what the church actually is first. So if you are, and actually I like to, if you go on our Facebook group, Alan, Alan, he, I don't know if he wants his last name on there, but he actually gave a good understanding to the difference between the institutional style and then the biblical style. And so if the purpose of a church is institutional, then it is programs and it's getting people in and it is to put on a show. And I know I'm oversimplifying it and mocking it almost, but that is kind of what is the purpose and to reach the sinners. They're going to say to reach sinners. The biblical model of what a church is made up of believers. It is the body of Christ. When you are born again by the Spirit of God, you are in the church.
Yeah.
There's no church membership. You are now in the church. Right. So now, me personally, I don't believe in the church universal. That's the body of Christ, in my opinion. But the churches are always local, and so you have a local church, a group. So it's going to be confusing if you're thinking of church as a building here. Okay, so we have to start off here, right? You want something to add to that, guys?
No, I think that was a good explanation.
Money, because if you have a building that everybody thinks of church, it requires money. But if you look at in a biblical sense of what church is, money.
It's literally the people, though, right?
It's the people, yeah.
The people actually gathered together, and that's where the word they were called out to a certain place to do a certain thing, and a certain thing we're going to get into what they did, and that's obviously worship God and edify and build up the body of Christ. But they that is a church, is just believers coming together. Now, as we were talking last night, it's not believers coming together to watch a football game.
Right.
No,
we wouldn't call that church. It's a little bit more intentional than that.
Right.
Now, could you watch a football game while doing church? I don't want to confuse things, but like our church meetings, our gatherings, I should say, can last 5-6 hours. And in that process, we do a lot of things like praying. There's sharing, there's preaching, there's teaching, there's prayer. We eat together, and then there's fun. We go out and play volleyball, and some of them they go swimming, and we watched the baseball game one time at the end. You know, but we wouldn't say that's the purpose of the church is to go watch a football game or to have fun. So just because we happen to gather for a football game, that's not the church. No. But the church is a body of believers at the core. Okay.
So when we look in the Bible and see the church, the different churches, the local churches, you say, meeting together, whenever they came together, what did they do?
What do they do? So when the church met together, what did they do? So you have to look at their practice, right? And then kind of the theology behind it. So there are two different things. So the book of Acts kind of talks about what they did. I think it's pretty clear what they did and how, at least the church in Jerusalem for the most part, and that's in Acts 2:42, right?
Yep, it says, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship and in breaking of bread and in prayers.
And that's kind of been our heart cry, is that we would like to at least accomplish those things when we get together. And they met house to house, and that's kind of why we meet in houses. Is it a requirement to meet in houses? No, but that's what they did. And form follows function. And when I say form follows function, that if you have a big auditorium that's like a theater style, what is that function? What is it going to be geared toward?
Entertainment.
Well, basically, right. Yeah, one person getting up there to talk to the masses.
Well, and everybody's passive, whereas the people up there, they are the ones that perform or do whatever
they're doing the actions, and it's very few, and everyone else is passive and sits back and enjoys or doesn't enjoy, depending on if you're a Baptist or not. You know, but it's very passive, and whereas the biblical model, whether you do it in an auditorium, which I don't know how you could do it because of form follow function, but if you're outside, you could do it outside. But in people's homes, it's more conducive for relationship atmosphere, so you can open up and talk about things, right? Which
is, I think that's the goal,
right?
Is to be able to communicate with one another, fellowship together, and be able to encourage one another. Which we'll talk about this some more, I'm sure.
Well, when I say fellowship, so I'm going to put Chuck on the spot here, right? So. When you think of fellowship, what do you think of?
I immediately think of two fellows in a ship. Rowing together. That's my picture.
Okay, but that's funny, but it's I like it.
Yeah.
You know, two fellows in a ship. They're together.
Yeah.
But so that's a lot of times we think of fellowship. We have the fellowship hall at churches, and it's donuts and coffee, and we think just hanging out and talking is fellowship.
Right.
No, that's called hanging out and talking.
Yeah.
Fellowship is we actually have something in common together that we're working on and doing something together. And obviously that is Christ when we get together. And that is a common sharing. That's the koinonia, the Greek word there, koinonia, is a common sharing. What do we have to share? So when I come to a meeting, I'm going to share what I have from this past week or whatever days, maybe 2 weeks, whatever you get together. And you bring something that you have to share. You bring something that you have to share, and so on and so forth. It is more engaging.
Right.
Than very passive. And I think that's a real big difference. So what did they do? What did the church meet? So you have the practice in Acts, but then you have other Bible verses and like in Corinthians and so off, where 1 Corinthians 14 talks about actually the nuts and bolts of a quote unquote meeting, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit more organized, and I know like there's disagreements amongst church people. Obviously, ecclesiology has been argued for. I shouldn't use big words, right?
Right.
Yeah, Larry's been doing stuff like that on his show. So
Yeah.
what is ecclesiology?
It's the study of the church.
Thank you. So in ecclesiology, that's been debated, but it is clear that in Corinthians, he puts the church in order. They were out of order in many ways, and so there is a meeting time where you are very purposeful for a very specific thing. Like we're not just getting together watching a football game, right? We're not
Right.
getting together building a barn. You know, that's good and that
Right.
might be fun, but we have to be very intentional.
Well, 1 Corinthians 14, most of 1 Corinthians talks about the church.
Right.
But also, Paul gives guidelines.
Right.
And they're kind of vague to allow for individuality so that it's not do it this way.
Right, sure.
But these are some guidelines to follow, which is different than like I don't know how many Baptist churches you've been into, but or attended their services, but it's amazing to me how they're all the same.
Right.
You go in, they have their greeting, they sing a song, and it's always like if it's a hymn that's 4 verses, you sing the first, second, and third verse, or the first, third,
I
and
thought,
fourth.
First,
I thought
second,
you skipped the
fourth.
third, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. skip
you
the
say
third.
Skip the third.
First, second, last.
Yeah, first, second, last. I'm like, and it'll be like 2 hymns and then an announcement or something, and it's all the same order, but Paul he gave guidelines.
Well, let's just put it this way. What we have in the churches today did not come from the Bible.
No, it didn't come from the.
It came from the Catholic Church. Let's
Right.
be fair, and it got organized.
More the pagan church, but
Well, sure,
pagan,
but
not
I mean, the Catholic Church
Right.
took it
Yeah.
and borrowed it, and like, hey, this is a good way to speak to the masses, and now that Christianity, Constantine legalized it and became
Yeah.
the state religion, and so what better way to help indoctrinate is just have one single message and have a priesthood, basically. But the Bible talks about having the priesthood of the believers, not a priesthood of people who went to Bible college and you
Right.
know, all that.
Yet the church becomes now a group of people that they don't have to be like your neighbor church
Right.
or whatever. Or the Baptist church here is the same as the Baptist church in another city. Constantine and the Catholic Church became a religious system rather than a true church.
Right, because like your original question there, what did the church meet together to do? Well, it was to edify and build up, as we see in Ephesians 4:11, where it talks about the gifts, part of the gifts that God gave, apostles, prophets, teachers, pastors, evangelists, you know, the so-called fivefold ministry, but they're just gifts. Those were given to edify and build up the body of Christ so they could go out and do the work of the ministry,
right.
you know, not so the pastor can, you know, do it all. That's foreign to Scripture. It's not the pastor's job.
Yeah, it's not.
There's no single pastor in the Bible either. It's usually a group of leaders, and but yeah, that's the purpose of the fellowship of the meeting, was to encourage, to edify, to pray for one another, to fellowship and getting to know one another's lives. So how can I better effectively pray for you, or how can I help you out? And you're studying this. That's interesting. Let me study it too. You know, hey, Chuck's doing a study on faith. Are you done with that yet?
I am.
Okay, wow, how about that? Okay, and so you know, going through some of those things, it helps spur us on and help us along.
Well, also everybody has a chance to participate.
They should.
Whereas in the traditional church, you don't.
Right.
You're just there to listen. That's
So
your part.
so when we're talking about church, we're talking about the biblical
Right.
definition of church with the body of believers coming together to do these things. And so that's the purpose. So what is the purpose? And we're going to get into the difference between the purpose and the work here in just a second. But yeah.
So today we see Christians go to church.
Right.
So why is the question? Why do Christians, what are the reasons they give for going to church? And you have a poll here that was conducted by Pew Research that gives, I guess, the 4 top answers.
I guess, yeah. They're going to play
reason
Family
why.
Feud. The top 4 answers are on the board. Yeah. Now, I already looked at this list, and you guys can see the list too, so we can't guess.
Yeah.
But what are the 4 things? What's number 1?
So 81% gave the answer of to become closer to God.
Okay, so remember, this is the purpose of getting together. 81% people think that going to church is going to get you closer to God.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is nonsense.
It doesn't work that way.
Well, no, because if you're just reading the scriptures, if you're reading the New Testament, I guess you can read the Old Testament too, but reading the New Testament about Jesus coming to earth and dying and setting up and establishing his church, the body of believers. And it's our responsibility to get closer to him daily. I should feel close to him right now. There is no excuse for me to go to a holy place or a special place to get closer to God. I mean, is that true? Should I get closer to God? Sure, but I can get closer in my bedroom, and I can get closer in the car.
Would it be better to go on a high mountain?
Ooh, it's closer. It is literally
I think they
closer.
tried that in Tower of Babel or something.
It
I don't
didn't
know.
work. What about number 2?
Well, I guess what I need to do is actually give the actual question that was stated, because these numbers aren't going to make sense. When I say 81%, the next one's 69%. That's over 100.
Okay,
already,
right. Because
so the question that they ask is, among U.S. adults who attend religious services at least once or twice a month, this is a percentage who say blank, fill in the blank, and these are the answers, is a very important reason to attend religious services. So the first one, 81% says that to become closer to God is a very important reason.
Yes.
69% say so children will have a moral foundation.
You go for the kids.
Yeah. Go for the kids.
Go for the kids.
Isn't that supposed to be taught at home?
That is exactly my
I
point.
think that's what the scripture says, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's my
We'll
job
wake up, when
to
we
do that.
Yeah, exactly.
We sit down, we'll go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah, can the church help with that? Absolutely. But these days, we did a show on this many years ago, a couple years ago, and it's basically we drive up to the drive-through window and talk to drive-through Jim and say, hey, put my order of what church I want. I want one with good kids programs because I want my kids to be entertained and know other kids and indoctrinate them. But it's your job to teach them.
Yeah.
And, so what's number 3?
So number 3, 68% said it was a very important reason to attend to make me a better person.
He must be going to Joel Osteen's church. Make me a better person.
Your best life now?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Would that be a reason that we get together? Now, this is going to the church that most people think of, but, coming together, is it going to make me a better person? Probably.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, getting around other believers, it's going to make me a better person. But I'm going to get to my main point here. What's number 4?
All right, number 4, a very important reason to attend church is for comfort in times of trouble or sorrow.
That's a good one. I mean, that is
Right.
We all have times of trouble and sorrow, and the church is a place that we should be getting comfort and encouragement from. But think about all these top 4. The thing that stuck out for you. Let me see. What sticks out with you on these top 4? Anything specifically?
Well, the second one. So children will have.
Well, just in general, like a theme. Do you see a theme? Nope. No,
I'm not sure
It's
where you're
about
going.
me.
Yeah,
It's about
say
me.
it's
Yeah.
all,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it's
It's all
selfish.
about me. It's
me,
like
me.
I go to get closer to God. I want my children to have a good foundation. I want to be a better person, and I need comfort, and I need this.
Yeah.
So compare that to the scriptural mandates.
Yeah.
When we get together, it is for me to edify the body of Christ. I go to give. I don't go to get. That has been so misunderstood in our culture. And it's not just America, it's probably the whole West.
Yeah.
It's modern church in general, is we go to church to get a message. We go to church to feel something, to feel good. We go to church to hear good music and get moved, hopefully, unless you're at a Baptist church. And then the message better be good, because I need that message to make me feel good. I want good kids programs for my kids. It's all about me.
Yep.
And in fact, the opposite is true when you're talking about a New Testament style church. What the Bible teaches is that I am supposed to be going with the attitude of, how do I bless? How do I encourage? Yeah. I don't go in there saying, give me, I'm going to give. Now, is there going to be times where I'm going to need to get something?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But my attitude should be, how do I bless?
Right.
How do I encourage? How do I do that? And Hebrews 10 talks about that perfectly. I know that's we're jumping a little bit ahead, but go ahead and read that verse. Hebrews 10, 23 through 25.
It says, let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching.
Okay, so now this is the pinnacle of go to church verses, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this is the pastor. This is why you got to come to church. Yes, but notice how it says, as the day approaches, we should do it more. So we should be gathering more and more, not just on Sunday. Like, why just Sunday? I know, like, distance and life, things get busy, but as that day approaches, shouldn't we be getting together more often? Yeah. And the reasons they get together, now listen to this, it's not to have a music show and have a nice little message, as I call it, a concert and a TED Talk by one person, that we get his opinions. Like I said, if you go to John MacArthur's church, you're going to hear his perspective on the scriptures the majority of the time, most of the time. So you're going to be a John MacArthur disciple. You're not going to be a Jesus Christ disciple. No. You're going to follow John MacArthur and what he teaches, and maybe some of the associate pastors or whatever at the church. And that's the problem, is that what you have to share, I'm pointing to Chuck and Larry, and even Sarah, what you have to share is important because God created you, right? And to interact with each other. But anyway, the things that are important here in the verse is, let us consider one another. Mm-hmm. I have to know you to consider you.
Yep.
Consider where you're at in your walk, where you're at in life. Maybe, if you just had a death in the family, it's not the time to have fun and joke around and bring a fun message or something or whatever. Maybe I need to consider that you're in sin and I need to bring a hard message or relay something that you need to repent.
I appreciate you looking at me when you said that.
I did. But we need to consider one another. For what? To provoke them to love and good works. Yep. And that's kind of the idea of church, is when the body of Christ gets together, what are we encouraging them to do? It's just to love and to good works. It's that simple. Yeah. It's just not that hard. Mm-hmm. And, of course, exhorting one another much more. Those are the things that we do as the church gathers. That is what they are. That's the purpose right there, I think, in a nutshell, right? Is to provoke to love and that's a good provocation, right? Yeah. Provoke to love and good works.
Well, I think when you combine that with the other Acts 2:42 that we read earlier about continuing the apostles' doctrine and the fellowship and breaking of bread, the provoking to good works and all that's all encompassing. It fits all together. Yeah, and it's hard to do that when you're just watching, like you said, a TED Talk and a concert. Right. It doesn't seem to fit. And then once that's over, you go your separate ways and your day's done.
And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. Right. To have a time where someone actually performs a song, I'm not against. Right. And someone that's a very good orator gets up and speaks, I'm not against that. But those should be more minimal, right? Than the normal thing. Like it should be more like a convention or a bigger gathering. Say you had a bunch of churches around and say once a quarter they get together and have a bigger meeting or whatever. You can get creative with it. But we've made that the norm, right? Yeah. And in the process, we have killed the sheep. Yeah. We have killed, everyone is now dumb and they're just following blindly a pastor that probably followed a dumb blind person. Just
The blind leading the blind.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So we talked a good bit about what the purpose of the church is and trying to understand exactly what purpose we have. How's that differ from the work of the church?
That's a good question, because when you say what's the purpose of the church, inevitably someone will be saying evangelism.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I'm not going to quibble too much about that, because it is a purpose, but there's like feeders. It's multifaceted, as Jeremiah said. That's like the word of the day, and I got to stop saying it, but it is multifaceted. And it's like the purpose of the church isn't just prayer. It's not just encouragement. It is many things. But here's the thing: when the body of Christ gathers, it is specifically for believers. Now, that doesn't mean an unbeliever can't get in our midst,
Right.
but it's not the common. It's not normal. We shouldn't be inviting sinners to our gatherings. The evangelism should be done outside, and when they convert, they come inside. But the believers, when there's no reason to preach evangelistic message to people who are already saved.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying the purpose of the gathering of believers is not for evangelism.
No.
Now, what it is for the training up, the preparation, the encouragement, the prayer, the edifying, to go out and do whatever works that you're going to be doing out there. Right. Not everybody is gifted the same way. Not everybody is going to evangelize the same way. Maybe someone is going to be helping a single mom out.
Right.
Maybe someone is going to be a street preacher. But we're encouraged. Maybe we go help them out in the work. So that's why I separated the purpose and the work of the church. I think the work of the church is pretty clear. That we should be that.
But it goes back to the Hebrews 10, 23 and 25, or actually specifically 24, that we should provoke one another unto love and to good works.
Right. Whatever that is.
Right. Whatever that is.
Right. We shouldn't have to push one specific thing, but whatever's on your heart to reach out, we should be light in this world. They say we are Jesus' hands and feet on this earth. And we are, in a sense, but that's not the purpose of the church in that sense. It's the purpose to encourage, hey, Larry, what did you do this week to, you want me to help you out with this? I know we have someone in our fellowship who really wants to go out and witness, and we're like, go ahead. But he's like, he would like someone to go with him. And I understand that. I don't want to go out by myself always. So they need that encouragement to go out. And so I told him of a couple other people I knew who were going out to LSU. And so anyway, which isn't part of our quote unquote fellowship or church, but they're still part of the body of Christ.
Exactly. They don't need to be.
Right.
Right.
We're not in competition.
Right. Exactly.
We just happen to meet here, and they happen to meet there. So whatever. So do you have anything else you guys want to say about the difference between the work and the purpose?
Well, I was thinking as you were saying it, one of the things the church is, because of the system that it has, it's left the training of new believers to outside sources like Bible college.
Yep.
Whereas in the New Testament, they learned the apostles' doctrine in church when they came together.
Well, that's a good point,
him.
because when we talk about, one of the people are going to say, well, one of the purposes of church is discipleship. Oh, okay, fine, that's fine. But do you even know what that means?
Exactly.
Because when you look at what Scripture teaches about discipleship, like they lived with Jesus, they walked around with him, they saw him. Do we do that here? No. Like we sit in a classroom for a couple hours and regurgitate information. Like, hey, did you read my information? Okay, good. I discipled you. No, exactly. It is a come alongside type thing. And of course, the church does help with that, help disciple newer believers and things like that. So, what about you, Chuck? Did you want to add something there?
No, I don't think so. I think that, understanding the difference there, the reason that we come together as a body to be edified, and then using that to go and do. So it's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between the purpose and the work.
And that just means that workplace too, doesn't it? I mean, how to act and behave in life in general,
I feel like it's a...
Sorry. Sarah hasn't talked yet.
It's such to me, a simple model, like what God designed the church to be. It's like
Ain't she the smart one?
Yes.
well, it's like we should just come together and edify and encourage each other and be equipped so that we can go live our lives. So I can be the wife and the mom that I need to be through the week, so that when you go to your workplace, whoever you come in contact with, then we can go out and do the work if you want to, separate the two. But I feel like somehow like we just have it all mixed up, and churches are messed up, and it really messes up everything. I mean, I
It's
talked to a
hindering everything.
pastor's wife who's pastor of a, rather large church in the area. And she was just talking about, they get people in, they bus in, hundreds or however many, kids and young people every week. But she was like, but everybody's marriages that are in the church is falling apart. She's like, nobody talks on marriage, so they don't know how to be married. They don't know how what a Christian marriage is supposed to look like. And I'm like, well, that's horrible. I mean, it's great that people are coming in and getting saved, but if they don't know how to live saved or what that even looks like, and it can't pass on to the next generation, and they barely can even live it themselves, then what's the point?
Well, that kind of goes back to one of the other purposes, is that we are an ambassador of Christ. And so we represent Jesus here, and we are doing a very bad job of it.
Right. Yeah.
We are doing a terrible job of it. The world looks at us, and it's a joke, because it just looks like we're in it for the money. It looks like a scam. It looks like an MLM scheme,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know.
it does.
And they just like, that's not reality. And in some ways, you're like, yeah, it isn't. But you're right. It's not that, it's more personal, and we have a personal relationship with Jesus. We don't have a ritualistic relationship with our Savior. In the same way, we don't have a ritual relationship with each other.
Right.
We don't stare at the back of someone's head and maybe during greeting time for 5 minutes, hey man, how you doing?
Yeah,
That's a good point, because I feel like today that a lot of people will actually compartmentalize their lives and allow God into some areas,
Yep.
Yep.
but there's other areas that God's not allowed into.
That's a good
That's
point.
where they actually rule. That's their domain, not God's domain, and they separate the two. And they probably wouldn't say that, but that's the way life is lived. There's certain times and certain areas that God's allowed in, and there's other areas no. My opinion doesn't necessarily agree with what the Bible says. So, that's not really, that's not really a
Just
God
pretend it doesn't
domain. That's
exist.
just, he's pick and
I don't
choose.
understand why that happens. I really don't. Is it the church is failing? The leadership of these churches are failing, and they're not really. They're just coming up with nice flowery messages, and people aren't really learning. I don't know. There's just so many issues. Look, Larry and I both went to Bible college. You actually graduated.
Yeah.
So that means he knows less.
That's
right.
You were smarter and got out.
But so we were part of the system a little bit, and it's not a good. I mean, they actually taught us in Bible college to not get close to the sheep.
Yeah.
So they're putting us up there as the shepherds, and no, Jesus is the chief shepherd, and we're just all in this together. It's just that maybe I have more experience, or maybe I've been. I don't want to, this almost sounds like a brag, almost like I've been more faithful in a certain way, but that's kind of what the leaders are. People that have been faithful, they've been proven, and they're seasoned.
Right.
They're not new converts. They're not young. They're a little bit older. They're just leaders. They're leading by example.
They've made the mistakes already, so if you pay attention to them, you won't have to.
That's exactly it.
But that's most churches. They look for the pastor, and we made that an office, and the qualifications are no longer biblical. It's, do you have a degree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you speak well?
Yeah,
And that's
pretty
kind-
much.
yeah,
Can you get a crowd?
Yeah, exactly. So that's not what the Bible.
Oh, there's a lot of good speakers out there.
Oh, yeah,
you
some really
can
good
hear
ones.
some, and there's a lot of bad ones too. But the good ones, they put on a pretty good show,
They do.
and it's effective in some ways, which kind of leads to the next question, right?
Yes. So the next question being, are most churches fulfilling God's purpose for the church?
So I had to change the question to God's purpose, because it said their purpose, and I'm like, yeah, they're fulfilling their purpose.
their purpose.
But God's purpose, I don't think so. I don't think a lot of churches are fulfilling God's purpose for what the church is. They're actually hindering it, I think, by the structure that they have, by usually the one man that's leading the church, and he is bringing forth the word of God for all these hundreds of people. and that's really keeping down the people. The church there is not going to grow. They're not going to be encouraged. Like, there's a number of times that we've had people that shared in our fellowship that, and I'm not looking at anybody in the room, no. But you younger guys or just people that are still growing, including myself, that might have shared something that is incorrect.
Yeah.
And you know what? We plow through and we let them speak. And then later on, we talk to them and we engage in conversation. And this is why I think a little differently about this. And can you see here in this verse here and that, so on and so forth. Well, churches don't engage in that.
No,
it's just this pastor is what he says, and those people cannot grow. They have questions. I guarantee you they have questions on what you just preached. They want you to answer their questions. They have thoughts. They have ideas. And to think that the pastor has all the gifts of the church is absurd. Like, we all are equipped with gifts.
Yeah.
And we are all doing our own study. And we all come together. And to think that only one man has all the answers is absurd.
Could you imagine, you mentioned John MacArthur, somebody going to his church, and as he's preaching, you raise your hand and say, I have a question.
Yeah, it just wouldn't happen, right? So. But that should be able to be available to happen where I'm confused. I mean, 1 Corinthians 14 says that if someone interrupts you, you stop and let them say their piece. And that couldn't happen in our today's structure. And so are we going to be biblical? Are we going to be institutional? The institutional way, I don't think, is fulfilling the purposes of God's design for the church.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think it is. Now, people are like, well, I think it does. Well, look around. The church is reprobate. It is failing. It's falling apart.
Look at our society. I mean, just in this area, how many churches are there?
Oh, there's hundreds.
In the East Baton Rouge Parish, if you look at the number, there's probably 300 churches or more.
Because they're all tax deductible.
Right. Exactly. But where is that impact on our society if it's working so well?
Right. It's kind of like Chuck was saying, we compartmentalize.
Right.
Especially down south, we do a good job of we go out to the bars on Saturday and we go to church on Sunday.
Because that's what good folks do. They go to church on Sunday.
That's right. And it doesn't actually do anything, and it just seems like the system that's in place is leading down a bad path. Like, trust in the church. The church is the answer. No, it's not. Jesus is still the answer. Right. The church is made up of believers. It's not that sacred building that people think is sacred, and it's not. No. And it's just a building.
Yeah, it's just a building.
And things can get done inside a building. I'm not saying that, nothing good can happen in there, but it's just the church's design is supposed to be more familial, family, and is supposed to be more for edifying and encouraging and training in righteousness and, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to save the last question until the end here. We'll go ahead and hit two more scriptures. 1 Corinthians 14:26.
Says, how is it then, brethren, when ye come together, every one of you hath a psalm, hath a doctrine, hath a tongue, hath a revelation, hath an interpretation? Let all things be done unto edifying.
Yes, and then we already did the first Ephesians 4:11 and 12, but we didn't do 12. And he gave the apostles and prophets and evangelists and pastors and teachers for what? The perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. So there's that word edifying again. And that's kind of the purpose at the heart of it, right?
It is. And I do feel like some people, though, feel like, well, they go to be edified because, right, that's biblical. It's all for edifying. Right. But I'm like, the point of going to church for anybody is so I go to edify other people. And even as a woman, because I'm not going to necessarily speak in church, but we're together for hours in the day. It's like my purpose should be, how can I edify others that I'm going to see today?
Well, and you kind of brought up a point. So it's like people can't just imagine our meetings, and our meetings can go for like 5 hours, and it's not what you think, But we eat together. So in that eating, that's why I think, like in 1 Corinthians, there is order. And we believe, what the scriptures say, and where it says for a woman to remain silent. I know there's much debate over that, and I'm not going to debate that right now. And I can appreciate, we never enforced it. If a lady mentioned, spoke in church or something, we're not shutting her down or something like. If she started preaching, I might. But if they had a question or they were just wanted to praise God about something, I'm not shutting them down. But
No.
as for our house, we don't. Now, it's a long day, and yet she still is not silent the whole day. She's talking to the ladies. She's even talking to you guys.
Yeah.
You know, we get the families together and talk. And there's a lot of edifying in that time where not just our preaching time or teaching time, that where we just think, okay, that's the only edifying. There's a lot of, some of our best conversations have been around just the lunchtime.
Yeah.
Like last week, it was just us. It was Jeremiah, I, you, and Michael Thornton and all. I said it all wrong, in English. I didn't get a very good grade in it, but it was just a few of us. So not everybody heard our conversation, but you were very intrigued by the conversation and very interested in it. And it was a good conversation. We didn't agree necessarily. I agreed more with Michael, and I'm sure Jeremiah did. But that's fine. We discussed the issue pleasantly.
Yeah, that's the whole idea of iron sharpening iron.
Right.
Where we're discussing issues. We have questions.
Yeah.
We may not
See eye to eye.
See eye to eye. We may decide that we have all the answers, but the question's out there, and I believe that actually encourages everybody else whenever we're discussing it.
Sure.
And that's how you learn. That's what you learn from other folks.
Yep.
Absolutely. So that's good.
So, Mike, what is the purpose of the church?
Okay, well, I think by this point we've answered that question, right? It is to edify at the heart of it. Obviously, like I said, it's multifaceted. There's going to be different aspects of the church that we do to, training in righteousness. That's the word of God, but we're training to do the work of the ministry, to provoke and to love and to good works. But at the heart, it's to edify the body, like Ephesians. Let all things be done unto edifying. He's correcting the church there, but he's like, let all things be done unto edifying. We need to encourage and bless others. It's not about me.
Yeah, right.
And once we get to focus off ourselves, then we might have a proper church. It's about others. And I think that's the big key that's missing in the modern church is we go to get and we don't go to give. And that's a big problem.
Yeah. It is.
Unless you're giving your money.
Yes, they want your money. Yeah, you can give your money.
The Mike Charleston Show.
History with Larry.
All right, Larry, take two. No, it's Larry couldn't hear anything, and so that was funny. All right, what do we have today for history time with Larry?
Today's it's a different history lesson. It's
aren't they
not
all?
a life-altering history thing, but it's kind of a funny story.
As if the bear was a life-altering one.
Well, that's true. It wasn't. But, this is about a time when you could get away with more things.
So it was the 1990s?
Actually, before that, late 1800s.
Oh, okay.
But before we get started, I do want to say, because I forgot about this, I got an appreciation card from our consultant.
Oh, wow.
About this segment. So
Sweet.
I wanted to say thanks.
Thanks, consultant.
Yeah.
He didn't consult me on that, but
Anyway, back to the story. So, Mike, you're like a supervisor, or you got some standing in your job.
that's right. That's right.
But wouldn't it be nice if you could train somebody and then you didn't have to work? They would do it for you, and
So be like, just collect the money and just have someone else run the business for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what the story's about.
Okay.
So this takes place in the late 1800s.
Okay.
And it's about a train employee.
Train?
Yeah, he worked for a train in Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh, okay.
So this is like in the 1880s.
Okay.
And his name was Jack Wide. And
Jack Wide?
W-I-D-E.
Jack White.
No one of consequence.
He's no one of consequence.
No, he wasn't. No.
Okay.
Except for this railroad company. Because of his assistant. His assistant's name was Jack. So
two Jacks.
no, Jack and James.
Oh, did he know Jack?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
So James was a signalman for the railway company in Cape Town, like I said. But James lost both of his legs.
That's going to be very difficult.
It became very difficult to do his job, especially the half-mile commute from his house to the
Oh,
railroad
yikes.
railway
I don't think
station.
so, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the assistant Jack came along, he trained him and to do a lot of the work. And one of the things Jack did was he would push James in a trolley cart to the station so that
Isn't
they
that
could.
offensive? It just seems like it would be okay. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, well, hold on. So, but Jack would also help around with other chores.
he's a jack of all trades.
He is, yeah,
Okay.
like sweeping the floors, taking out trash, things like that. So, and part of the job, the function of the signalman was to pull the levers to switch the tracks,
Sure.
things like that. James trained Jack to do that. And so it got to the point where Jack was so good at it that James really didn't need to do anything.
He taught himself out of a job.
He did. And I was going to say he could
Who has no
sit
legs
in the
again?
office and kick back.
James.
James
put his
has no
feet up.
legs.
Yeah, James has.
So, oh, it's terrible.
Wow, that's
that is
awful.
terrible. He could kick back and put his legs up. It's terrible.
But James learned it so well that, like I said, he didn't have to. Jack learned it so well that James didn't have to really do anything. The other function was also that they would sometimes have to hand like keys, things like that, to the conductor as the train was going by.
Right?
Jack also learned to do that as well. So
Like on the fly. Like they're
yeah,
passing.
well, of
and
course,
like,
it'd slow down, when
Oh,
they would,
okay.
yeah,
Right.
but and pick up mail, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But one day, a passenger on the train saw Jack, the assistant, out there doing all the work, and James, the employee, not doing anything, and she complained. The railway station, they did an investigation, and they found out that that was true. Jack was actually doing the job.
well, James has no legs.
Well, yeah, but there was a problem because Jack wasn't technically an employee
Oh.
for the railroad station. So,
What's his deal?
yeah, well, he was more of an assistant to Jack,
To
to
James.
James. See, I'm getting him confused. They
Don't
should've
tell me,
yeah.
don't tell me this is another animal.
Larry?
Well, so,
what are you doing?
Larry. Larry,
but the
Larry.
station was so impressed with Jack's work that they made him an employee, and they ended up paying him 20 cents a week
He's a dog, isn't
and
he?
a half a bottle of beer
For
Oh.
what?
for his pay.
Well, hopefully he's not a dog. Then.
What animal is this?
Stop.
And then, but Jack ended up doing the job for 9 years without a mistake.
Okay.
No mistakes. And he ended up dying from tuberculosis. But,
So this is a
Jack
dude.
died.
Jack
It
died.
has to be a guy.
well,
What's the catch here?
you're going to see. Here comes the catch. Now, because, all this monkey business about
Oh,
the
come
assistant
on.
and stuff. Jack was not a man. You're right. He wasn't a man or a woman.
He was
Jack-
a monkey?
He was a baboon.
He was a baboon. And he died of tuberculosis.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know they
Got to
could get
fit the vodka
tuberculosis.
every day or something.
No, his pay was 20 cents a day and half, or 20 cents, 20 cents a day and half a bottle of beer a week.
Half a bottle of beer.
What
You
is-
sure James wasn't taking the other half?
I don't know. Maybe.
What does a baboon care about 20 cents a day?
Well,
He's going to
because-
pass it on to his children? I mean, like,
It's an inheritance. Come
As
on.
an employee, they had to pay him. So,
yeah. Okay.
That's
but-
$1 a week, man.
but yeah, they were so impressed that the baboon would actually learn the job so well that, like, in 9 years, he never made a mistake. And
Wow.
he knew how to change which lever to pull and stuff based upon the number of times the conductor would toot the whistle on the train.
That's pretty good.
Wow.
So he learned that, and
Whatever happened to James, man? This bum. He just like.
he did all the work of training Jack.
Okay,
so
well, that's,
yeah,
I'll give him that.
Yeah. But yeah.
That's a lot of work to train an animal.
I know. Could
And
you
then-
imagine? I mean, having a job like that where it's talk about literally this is a job a monkey could do.
Yeah. That is kind of crazy.
Wow.
A baboon.
Yeah.
Even. And did they have to put him in uniform?
I don't know. It didn't say, but that would have been pretty
Wow.
funny.
A monkey in a tuxedo?
Yeah, he found him he bought him in a market there down in South Africa. And,
All right. This
That's
was in South.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay, right. It's not in America.
yeah, not in America. And it was in the 1880s. So
You just can't imagine that today, right?
I know. Could you
Well,
imagine?
the thing is, they used to use like animals in the last one you talked about, some bear that they
Yeah, the
trained
bear.
to go
Yeah.
Is this
fight.
part of the animal revolution or something?
The Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
And so today it's like so foreign because I'm like, we would not use a bear in the military. We
I
would
know,
not
yeah.
use a baboon to, work at a train station. But I don't know because now we're using AI.
There's
Isn't
plenty
that
of
the next
baboons
thing?
working at the train station.
Anyway,
Yeah, so Jack the baboon.
Wow.
Could you imagine being on the train coming by and seeing
so I'm just wondering, like, what kind of history books you read? Like,
I know.
go look up.
off the beaten path?
I guess
Yes.
so. I'm like,
Yes.
okay.
I was thinking we're going to have real history stories, and we get animal history.
I am working on one. It's a little more complicated than I thought.
That's
but
fun. It's all good. I think we like a little fun.
Yeah, it's a little fun.
And learning something at the same time. And I mean, who cares about, telling stories about Hiroshima or something like
Yeah.
that? And then we're just talking about this at the round of dinner table. Is that as exciting, dropping an A-bomb on Hiroshima or a baboon turning signals for a train?
Yeah, I think that's more
absolutely.
exciting.
So,
I mean, yeah. Who you, obviously nobody learned that in their history class.
I surely didn't.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Missed
No,
that one.
hopefully next week I'll have a story. It's about World War One. I think.
Oh.
I think that's a
World War
big
I.
one. It's little trouble trying to condense it down.
Don't get expectations up for people.
Well, that's true. It's a good
Yeah,
point.
you gotta temper that.
Okay. Yeah.
The Mike Charleston Show. PureFlix movie review.
All right, it's time to movie time.
Movie
the movie
time.
review,
Yeah.
PureFlix movie review. Okay, so what we did this week, guys. So the last couple ones, it just progressively got worse.
Yeah.
And look, I love PureFlix. I think there's a place for creating Christian content. In fact, I'm doing a message on that at the shindig here at the family camp, and I think it's vital. And
Yeah.
so I don't want to just make fun of PureFlix. So what we did is we decided, well, we know of a good one, so we kind of cheated this time. So Chuck and I
Maybe
have
a little
seen
bit.
it. Yeah, Chuck, all of us have seen it except for Larry.
Right.
Yeah.
And we knew that this was a really, really good one. and-
Larry?
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you
So
doing?
Larry's first reaction was kind of important. So we did the movie Woodlawn, and by the Irwin brothers. And if you have not seen Woodlawn, it's one of my. It's in the top few all time Christian.
I'd say top 3.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's very
right.
good.
We did
Excellent
a during the basketball tournament. We did a bracket of Christian
Right, I
movies.
remember.
It didn't make
yeah,
my
that's
final
right.
four. Now, it wasn't my favorite. Didn't make it. I think it was in the finals actually.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
it's that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one that I think we would all definitely encourage people to
Yeah.
watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would.
So yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
So yeah, Larry didn't
I
see
was quite
this.
surprised.
Yeah. What were you expecting?
I had very low expectations.
Okay. Because of the other ones.
After, yeah,
Set him up.
Yes. And even though we were pumping it up.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, but still, I was like,
Yeah.
because some of the movies you like, I'm like,
Yeah.
but and especially after the last two, I was like, ooh.
Well, we didn't necessarily
But-
say we liked.
Well, that's true, but no, it was really well written. Never mind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Very good. And what I was saying, I liked that they, because it was based on loosely based on true story,
Right.
and they did incorporate some of the actual footage,
Right.
news footage of the time.
So I'll just give a quick synopsis because people are like, what do you mean of the time? So this is during the
1970s, early
Yeah,
70s.
early
Very,
70s.
it's set in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah,
Sometimes called the most segregated town in America or city
Right.
in America.
Yeah.
At the time.
At the
Right.
time. This was the location of the 16th Street Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
where
bombing
the
and-
bombings that occurred. And this is at a time of forced integration. So this is a high school. Woodlawn's a high school set in Birmingham during a time of forced integration. And the movie is really a sports-based movie.
It is. It's a football movie.
It's a football movie because it's really focused on the coach and the team at that high school during this integration. And it also is, I guess, the focus from the chaplain that came in.
Oh, yeah,
You
that's
see,
true.
you see
Right.
it more of as an evangelist, really, in the movie.
Right.
His name's Hank.
Hank.
And he comes in and shares Christ with the team in a very
Yeah.
interesting way. And the theme of the movie really is the love of God and His
Right.
ability to overcome,
Forgiveness.
to create forgiveness and to
Especially
be able
in
to
that
heal.
setting
Yeah.
where you've got a lot of hate, a lot of frustration, a lot
Tension.
of anger. Yeah, my goodness. And
Yeah.
so the star player is a black guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you're mixing two schools and they don't want the black guys playing, but he's that good.
Yeah.
And, well, he puts them in and it changes things. And
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, the other thing I appreciated about it was it wasn't your typical sports movie
right.
where
You're not going to give a spoiler, are you?
I was going to, and then I thought maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it just wasn't the typical. The emphasis wasn't on necessarily the sports,
Right.
winning in
But
sports,
it's interesting because if you watch the trailer, you kind of get that feeling,
Right.
that it's on the sport,
right?
Right.
But it's not.
It's not.
definitely
I mean,
not.
there's obviously good action, and they do a good job. It's one of the better. I mean, growing up being an athlete myself, and sports movies are usually terrible.
Yeah, they
It's
are.
just the action
It's
is not
difficult
real.
to be able to pull it off.
Right, and they did a very good job.
I mean, these are
of-
some. You want to see some hard hitting? There's some guys. There's some guys that got hurt doing
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah,
I do have a question for Sarah though about the movie. Did you like the music?
I did.
You did like the music, huh? Okay.
Did you
That
know the
was
song?
music.
At least several of them.
Oh,
I was
okay,
like, oh,
okay.
I remember that.
So
Yeah,
Larry's
brought me
asking
back.
that because it is the 70s and during integration, and so the soundtrack incorporates the music
Right.
of that time period. So
Right.
it's a lot of the soundtrack's a lot of Southern rock.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, I
Right.
thought it had Jesus Freak in there, didn't it?
no,
No,
Oh, I'm thinking of
Jesus
something
is
else.
still all
Okay.
right with me.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
The
Yeah.
Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
The
Doobie Brothers.
Right.
Oh.
But yeah, she knows it by the DC Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's a DC Talk song.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
by the Doobie Brothers first.
Oh.
So anyway,
And, Bob Dylan
Yeah. Oh yeah.
knocking on heaven's door.
Right. Yeah, but the way they just the story is very good. Some of the football scenes drug out for me, but because I'm like, to me, it's not about the football. But I get it. It
Right,
is.
yeah.
I mean, because they're football players.
Yeah, I mean, these
And-
are the two main football players, the quarterback of one team that's brought out, and the running back, which is Tony Nathan, which is the main character in the movie is Tony Nathan. Those are two prime time NFL players. They had really they know at least one of them, but they both won a national championship in college with Alabama, and
Right.
then I know at least one of them won a Super Bowl. I'm not sure if both did, but
he went on. The quarterback went on to 2 Super Bowls. I don't know if he won them, but maybe he did. I don't know.
So,
But yeah, they had a good career. They drew the largest crowd in high school history in Alabama. So they had a voice, and talking about affecting the change in
Right.
the culture. This was a way of doing it. Sports do have a way of doing that. It's like a lot of racial lines drop at sports because you just want to win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
today, they don't care. Like, I'm sure there's some people that care still, but it's a win business.
It is.
You
Don't
know?
they say winning fixes everything?
Almost,
Yeah.
almost everything.
So I learned something after the fact. I know I'm fairly confident Larry doesn't know this. I'm curious to know if Mike knows this. Hank's character.
Yeah.
So Hank's the evangelist or chaplain that comes in. Do you know who that was based on?
Well, that was the senator.
No.
What do you mean?
Part of it, maybe. So this is a life story for the Irwin brothers. Hank, the primary character that is based on, are the Irwin brothers' father. His name is Hank Irwin.
How about that?
So he lived. He lived it. He was a chaplain at high school.
A sports chaplain.
Wow.
Yes.
That's funny. He's like, I'm a sports chaplain. You just have to see it.
Wow.
It's great. It's funny. It's not that funny. I mean, it's a very serious movie, but they
Right.
have some funny parts and good acting. I mean, the Irwin brothers put on a pretty good one here.
Yeah.
This was a home run.
Yeah.
Quickly, 10 out of 10. What's your rating it?
It's over 9.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Larry, you're a hard judge.
Yeah, I'd say 8.5.
Okay,
It's-
wow,
it's
you
up
are
there,
a hard
yeah.
judge. Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's some
What are you
good.
going to say,
I
babe?
mean,
10.
it's
I mean,
probably
it's
10.
for Christian movies. It is on my list. It is number 2. And it has everything. It has a good gospel presentation. It has it gets you emotional. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but when the coach goes to church.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll just leave it at that. It's powerful because he's a skeptic, you know. He's just like he wants everybody, he wants to win football games, and in the process his life gets changed.
Yeah.
Another
And,
very powerful moment of him. I don't want to spoil it. Was at the awards banquet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a real event.
Yeah.
That really happened.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
So I was like,
I'm sure it did. There was a lot of tension, but yeah, I'd have to give it a 9.5. Was it the perfect movie? I mean, it is up there as one of my favorites. If I'm going to name a favorite, it's going to be up there. And I don't really watch a lot of movies these days. It's mainly Christian movies, and so it's going to be one of my favorites. And so, yeah. That's it. So go watch Woodlawn by the Irwin Brothers. It's on Flix. And you can watch it there. I don't know where you can watch it, but it's on Flix. But it is definitely worth a watch. It is. There are some issues that I don't know if like 8-year-olds how comfortable. There's a lot of.
It's 1973 forced integration.
Right, and so there's fighting.
Yeah.
There's some blood because people got in fights and things like that. So there are elements that are maybe for older people. Maybe I didn't think anything of it, but my kids are all grown for the most part.
I didn't think it was over the top or in any way at all. So.
Right, but it did show a good picture of the time period and
well, as I said, maybe it might even lead to a good history lesson and discussion,
absolutely.
especially with older teens.
Yeah. I mean, I had Joanna watching. Joanna's 5 now.
Yeah.
There was one time I was like, okay, this is going to be a little bit scary. So come here, but
you knew it was coming up.
Yeah, I knew it was coming up, and it's not anything that's going to be. They're gonna have nightmares about it or anything like that. It's just okay. This
just
is
unless she wakes up with a brick, and be like, "Hey." All right, let's get on out of this and go watch Woodlawn.
The Mike Charleston Show. Music with Sarah.
What song do you like?
All right, babe. This is the song of the week, and this song of the week is a little bit more newer. It's from this year, last year.
The last couple of years. I'm not
Last couple
exactly
years.
sure when it came out.
So look, when we go through music, we just kind of find it and we listen to it and we judge it whether we like it or not based on what we hear and what we don't base it on the artist or anything like that. Look, guys, this is from Bethel, and I got serious problems with Bethel, but...
As do I. I feel like they definitely have crazy things. I don't agree with their doctrine, their theology, their whatever.
practices.
But, right. I'm sure there's little I know, so probably if I knew a lot more, I'd disagree with more.
But even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
That's right.
So,
but they do have some good music out there.
Some.
And so this is called By the Grace of God. And it's by Bethel. I'm not sure who wrote it, but it's
from their album Revivals in the Air.
Right. And it's just it's a beautiful song. It's slow and sweet, and to me is just right on. And it
doesn't repeat 50 times?
It doesn't repeat 50 times. And I mean, it is a Bethel song. I want to say it's like 6-ish minutes or something like that. So, hey, it could be way longer. But this one I feel like is just a great song. I looked for other versions because if somebody else did it, I'd probably like that better. Like, I don't care to listen to Bethel particularly. But, hey, I don't know of any other version.
Well, what do you like so much about this song?
Because this is, I guess like most songs that I like, they get into your head and you just can't stop singing them. And the chorus of this one it just says, his love is like the mighty ocean. His love for me will never stop. Oh, his arms are strong enough to carry me through it all by the grace of God. And that, when you listen to it, you'll find that chorus, you'll just sing all day long. And it just,
I don't think that's true, but for you, it is, yes.
Okay, well, it's true for me. And so that just is the part I just can't not sing. And so anyway, but the whole song is actually really good. Just talking about relying on Jesus, because it is all by the grace of God that we live, that we do everything. And I do really like the fourth verse. It has 4 verses, so it's in a way kind of like a hymn.
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, but the 4th verse, it says, when breath grows still and night draws near, I will not be afraid. I know the plans he has for me don't finish at my grave. And I like songs about heaven, and I like songs that make me think about, just the perspective of it's not just about this life. And so I like to think about what's going to happen after I die. And that's what I really live for, is the after.
Right.
It's like, I love this life. I enjoy it. I think it's wonderful. God has blessed me tremendously.
But
I'm
there's so much
excited to
more.
wake up in the morning. But yeah, I look forward to being with Jesus always. And so I just feel like, that isn't the end. And
Right.
for so many people, that is the end. We're like, well,
But
this is
they
all I
live
got.
like it, that's for sure.
They do. And I'm like, no, that's just the beginning. And so I feel like that's a great verse. And then at about 4 minutes into the song, like I say, it's like 6 minutes. At about 4 minutes, some people may feel like it's over and you could just stop.
Oh, but
That would
hang
be okay.
on.
But
It's
if you,
not quite over.
But if you let it play out, it has a bridge that it goes into, and which kind of takes me back to maybe more of my charismatic kind of days or something. But not that it's crazy, because it's really not. It's actually a very just simple, sweet song. But the bridge says, "You are the passion of my life, Lord Jesus. You are the song within my soul, my strength, my hope, my all in all, Jesus, you." And I feel like that's my heart.
Yeah.
And so, that's something, it's one of those kind of like, I sing it as an anthem kind of song, like that is my heart cry. And he is the passion of my life. And that is what I get excited about. So that's why I like this song. 'Cause
Well, how many anthem songs do you have?
I have a lot.
Can you do that? Is that possible? An anthem song kind of means like one.
Oh,
but
okay. Well, then maybe that's the wrong word. I don't know, but it's
no,
like
I don't know.
something.
Maybe you can have more than one
It's
anthem
like
songs. We'll let you have one.
It's like a song of declaration.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that is what I declare. And he is my passion, and he is my all in all, and he's the song within my soul. And so that's what I like to
That's
sing.
it. Yeah,
So.
that's it. Well, cool. Go check it out. By the Grace of God by Bethel Music. Album is Revival in the Air. Go
Yep.
check it out.
The Mike Charleston Show.
Marriage.
All right, babe. We are slowly getting to the end of your book,
Slowly.
which means you're going to have to write a new book. So, sorry.
Oh,
Can
okay.
you get that done soon? This one, I see a theme. The last chapter, I believe, was Philippians 4:8
It was.
for marriage. Well, this one is 1 Corinthians 13 for marriage. Now, if you don't know 1 Corinthians 13, then you probably haven't been part of the church for very long, or you haven't been to a wedding anytime recent. But it is used at weddings and for marriage already. So I'm curious, this is specifically for wives,
For wives.
not for marriage. It's the quote-unquote love chapter. I think 1 John 4 is the love chapter personally. But
Yeah.
go ahead with 1 Corinthians 13.
Well, so obviously, like you say, it's always known as a love chapter, and
For good reason.
for good reason. And so it's a great chapter. So if you don't know the chapter in the Bible, you should go read
You should
1
stop
Corinthians
and go read it
13.
real quick, and it would make a little bit more sense.
But so what I do in this chapter is I pretty much just go through a verse or a little portion of the chapter, and then I say it what I think that means for wives. So like the first verse says, "Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal." And so I said, well,
So you should sound like an angel every day,
that'd be great, wouldn't it?
or a man.
I don't know about
Maybe
that.
not take it too
Okay.
literally. Okay.
So I said, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and love not my husband, I am just making a lot of meaningless noise. And so I kind of go through the whole chapter and give my interpretation of what that means for wives. And I think, the take-home message of this chapter to me is that I feel like so often, as this chapter talks about in the Bible, we can do all these great things. We can give to the poor. We can give our bodies to be burned. We can do amazing things. I mean, so many women are willing to, we'll go and be a missionary. We'll go and, die for Christ. We'll go and do whatever. But
say
it's
that,
like,
at least.
well, right. It's easy to say. But then when it comes to, loving your husband when he's not very lovable, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I don't know if I could do that. And it's like, God isn't often asking us to do the big, to go live in a hut and not have, anything but rice to eat for the
Right.
next 3 years. But he does ask us to love somebody who at times might irritate us, that at times may not see things the same as we do.
Right.
And so that's where it gets difficult.
Well, that's where love is, right? Because you don't get any reward for loving someone that loves you. It's when you love someone who is difficult to love.
Right.
That's where love really shows itself. That's where charity comes in, where someone who is being very difficult, someone who is not so easy to get along with. And sometimes that could be your spouse.
Sometimes,
hopefully not,
unfortunately.
but hopefully we can avoid some of that. But unfortunately, we live in a world where there is selfishness and there is people that are going through a lot of different things, and for whatever reason, maybe they're keeping it in, or maybe they're just struggling with something, and they take it out on the closest people to them, and whether it's their wife or kids or their friends, and it's very unfortunate. How do we react to that reaction? Do we perpetuate the anger, the evil, the wicked, or do we choose love? And that is so easy to just bail and just say, I'm not going to deal with this, or just deal with it and be Christ-like. Christ loved people that didn't love him.
Right. Yes, he did.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, in the Bible, it talks about, though I have the gift of prophecy, and talk about different gifts. And I feel like so many women, especially, feel very gifted spiritually and so in tune with God. And we feel like, I had this word from the Lord, or I had this, or I had that. And we put ourselves up there as being so high and mighty and so close to God. And yet, if that closeness to God doesn't reflect in the way that you treat your spouse, then you got nothing. You
got nothing. That's clear in 1 Corinthians 13.
Right. And
it's clear.
That is clear. And so I feel like, that's oftentimes, it's hard to swallow sometimes. You just think, well, of course I love God, but yet, this is really irritating me right now. And so I feel like this is where the rubber meets the road, and sometimes it's hard to live, but it's the truth.
We had a guy that was preaching this one time, and he took a pot or something, was just banging. It was very annoying. But to drive home the point, and imagine if we had a cymbal. I mean, if you have a kid that drums, this. But take a cymbal and just bang that cymbal, a clanging cymbal, and that's what it is. It's so irritating. No one can hear you. I had a youth pastor once say, I think it was my youth pastor, it doesn't matter. Someone said that I can't hear what you're saying because, now I just forgot it. It just snapped right out of my mind. But I can't hear what you're saying because your life is so loud, or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard something like that. Or your actions are speaking so loud that I can't hear over your actions what you're actually saying.
Yeah, it's something like that. We totally butchered that, but what we're trying to get at. And that your actions and how you actually are actually very important. And what you say is extremely important. What you believe is important. We're not going to diminish that. But if you don't show any love, it's all for nothing.
Yeah.
All for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, love is what matters. And honestly, that's like in 1 John, maybe, where it says that they'll know we're Christians by the love that we have.
Places,
and not only love that, it's so easy to love everybody out there who is not rubbing me the wrong way, but you have to love those that are closest to you first. Yep. So anyway, it's tough at times, but I feel like that's the greatest mirror. That's the greatest way to see, okay, where am I really? Can I love the people that are hardest to love?
Well, cool. Well, that's almost the third to last chapter, whatever it is. It's 1 Corinthians 13 if you're following along. And if you'd like to pick up a copy, you could pick up a copy, because pretty soon it's not going to be on sale anymore. Okay, it will be. It's going to be for sale for a long time. So anyway, pick up a copy of the book.
Hey, this is Joshua Charleston, the producer of The Mike Charleston Show. Thank you for listening to the show. If you want to follow us, we're on Facebook at Mike Charleston Show and Instagram at _Mike Charleston Show. Please support us on Patreon for exclusive content. This episode is over, but if you want more, check out the website at fellowshipofbelievers.org for more information. The Mike Charleston Show has been brought to you by Fellowship Believers.